Richard Cooper here, Total Debt Freedom. I'm on a Skype call with Alicios Iratakis and Doug Hoyes. Alicios is with SafeBridge Mortgage, and Doug Hoyes is with Hoyes, Michaelos and Associates, a bankruptcy trustee. Richard Cooper, Total Debt Freedom, a debt settlement company. So we're on a Skype call today because of some controversy created by some tweets last week, and I'm just going to pull them in front of the screen here. And I had watched a video where a bankruptcy trustee was being interviewed, and he said that the best way to avoid bankruptcy is with a consumer proposal. And I get pissed when I hear stuff like that, so what I did was I had my Twitter account open, and I said, I'm getting tired of trustees saying the best way to avoid bankruptcy is with a consumer proposal. It's the same thing, guys, stop with the lies. Alicios responded quickly with a reply and said, I'm with you on this one. The end goal is to get a mortgage. A bankruptcy is better than a consumer proposal in many ways. Doug, another professional friend of mine, mentioned that there are differences and we should hop on a call. So here we are today, courtesy of Twitter. We're talking about bankruptcy and consumer proposals and the possible differences. I've heard a lot of trustees say the best way to avoid bankruptcy is with a consumer proposal. It's another service, another tool in their toolbox. My argument is it's really viewed the same way by creditors and credit grantors. The end result gets you out of debt. It has advantages and certain protection from creditors. Creditors can't sue you. But the problem with a consumer proposal I see is it takes quite a bit longer to the discharge date. And I would argue that the trustee is more of a referee in a hockey game. He kind of sits in the middle, but probably leans more towards the side of the creditor. Doug's got a different opinion. So I'll let you two guys talk about your feelings on that. Alicios, you hopped on first and said that a bankruptcy would possibly be better. Why did you say that? Like, what's your opinion on that?
Well, if a consumer proposal is going to last 3, 4, 5 years, then and a bankruptcy is almost immediate, the key rule that a lender looks at is discharge plus 2 years to reestablish your credit. So the bankruptcy is happening immediately. Let's say if discharge is in a year, add 2 years to that, so you're at a 3-year point. Meanwhile, a consumer proposal can go as far out as to 5 years plus 2. So now you've got 4 additional years tacked on. Now, I understand that not every consumer proposal gets paid out in 5 years. Some of it's shorter, and obviously you got to wait it to. But from a lender's perspective, you're looking at they want to see 2 years reestablished credit from the moment of discharge. They want to make sure that there are 2 additional credit facilities opened right after the discharge is issued, and that each of those facilities has at least $2,000 to $5,000 in limit, and then you got to obviously show them that you're saving money, right? So,
so let me ask this question then. So if there's a bankruptcy and a consumer proposal, does somebody get special brownie points or special treatment when they're on a consumer proposal by a credit grantor? Like, does it look more favorable?
Absolutely not.
So it's viewed upon the same thing. So that was my argument. Is it's really the same thing as it's viewed by creditors and credit grantors. Doug's got a different opinion. Yeah, they are 2 different programs. So Doug, I'll let you talk.
Well, yeah, I think you have to look at this from the point of view of the debtor as well. I agree with what Alicio is saying. It's 2 years from the point that the procedure ends. So if it's a no asset bankruptcy, no surplus income, first-time bankruptcy, you're right. You're eligible to be discharged in 9 months. You add 2 years to that. Under 3 years, you're in pretty good shape to be qualifying for a mortgage if you've reestablished credit, have some down payment, and so on. And you're right. A consumer proposal, by law, can last up to 5 years. So I agree. If you compare a 5-year consumer proposal to a 9-month bankruptcy, the time limits are obviously in favor of the bankruptcy. However, let's take a scenario where you've got a guy who has surplus income when he goes bankrupt. So if your income's over the limit, then instead of a 9-month bankruptcy, now you're looking at a 21-month bankruptcy. And the amount you pay, so again, I'm looking at this from the point of view of the person who owes the money, the debtor. The amount you pay while you're bankrupt can go up or down based on your income. So you go bankrupt, you start working some overtime, your income goes up, your spouse starts working, whatever. All of a sudden, the bankruptcy can get pretty expensive. You also lose things like RESPs, whatever you've contributed to your RRSP in the last year, tax refunds, and so on. So it is quite possible that you could have a scenario where the bankruptcy lasts for 21 months, and during that time period, maybe the bankruptcy ends up costing you $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. You could do a proposal, structure it over a 5-year period, let's say $300 a month for 5 years, $18,000 in total, from the point of view of the debtor, it's probably easier while they're in the process to be coming up with $300 a month for those 5 years than to be coming up with, let's say, $1,000 a month over a shorter time period. Now, your point is correct. If the proposal goes the full 5 years, it's going to take that much longer to reestablish credit. However, the proposal can be paid off at any time. So instead of working a ton of overtime while I'm bankrupt and having to pay more, if I have the ability to work extra, increase my income, I can get the proposal paid off quicker. So if I could pay the proposal off in a year, then presumably, I guess, 1 year plus 2 years, that's 3 years, which certainly looks better than 21 months plus 2 years. So my objection to your tweet, Richard, wasn't that proposals are always better than bankruptcy, and I've never said that. I've never said that, the best alternative to a bankruptcy is always a proposal. What I have always said is everyone's situation is different. You got to look at the person's unique situation. What are their goals? What are their objectives? In some cases, if they think they can get the proposal paid off quickly, it's better than bankruptcy. In other cases, bankruptcy is a better option. In some cases, refinancing your mortgage, doing a debt settlement, doing a credit counseling, lots of other options. I think you just got to look at them all to make sure you've considered all the options.
Right. So we've got a couple more minutes to discuss this. From a mortgage lender's perspective, from a mortgage broker's perspective, somebody that wants to get into a home, they kind of want to veer away from bankruptcy consumer proposal, but I'm assuming that they're going to be more solvent than insolvent at that point if they're in a position to buy a house. So they're really, you're not really going to be looking at doing, going through a process that Doug Hoy's offers and getting into a new home at the same time. You got to kind of clean up the mess on the back end before you get into your home, sort of thing. So they don't kind of fall in line. I get what you're saying, Doug. That makes total sense.
Well, and that's a key point you just made, Richard. You got to clean it up first. If my wages are being garnished by Revenue Canada because I didn't pay my taxes, I can't walk into Alicio's office and qualify for a mortgage. I got to clean up the mess first and then go ahead and attempt to rebuild my credit.
And what I was going to point out, because I kind of started this business with partnerships with mortgage agents. We would help them close tough to close deals by settling the debt, and they would use the proceeds of the financing to pay out the creditors with settlements. Mortgage agents can routinely get mortgage financing for somebody that have gone through a debt settlement program. So the advantage to what we offer is a little bit more flexibility, whether the insolvency rate's higher or the person's solvent. So we offer a little bit more flexibility with the program. Doug's got some advantages where he can stop creditor calls and prevent you from being sued by a creditor. So my argument, I would say, still stands. The best way to avoid bankruptcy is with debt settlement. Others might argue that the best way to avoid bankruptcy is with a consumer proposal. But at the end of the day, if your end goal is to get into a home, the sooner you're out of debt, whether that's with a bankruptcy or consumer proposal or debt settlement, the sooner that you'll be able to do that. The only advantage with debt settlement is you can do the mortgage financing while you're settling your debt. Did you have anything else to add to that?
Well, I guess it's segmented into two individuals. Ones that don't own a property and other ones that do. Because obviously the option, if you have equity in your home and you obviously own a property, there's other refinance opportunities. And we talked about the A lenders. They have those strict 2-year discharge rules, but there's subprime lenders, call them an A minus or a B lender, that would step up and clean up the situation, as long as the individual hasn't missed too many payments. Now, if they're 6, 7, 8 months deep, then they're on their way to bankruptcy or to consumer proposal, and that's where I guess they need one of your services. But there's rules around property, right? There's rules around owning a property, and how, are they going to get forced to sell it or not? So, Doug, onto your point, every situation is unique, and we've always said that as mortgage financing guys. Hey, you know what? You come in here, you can't just be asking for rate. Your situation is unique. Let us diagnose it and come up with a solution. And I'm sure it's the same thing here. As long as we're giving the consumer options.
I've got an interesting question for you, because you mentioned A lenders or even subprime lenders. They've got these discharge rules before they can do financing. What about private lenders? Can you get private financing for somebody that's in a bankruptcy proposal or a consumer proposal? Or I would imagine their loan to value would be really high because you've got to pull all that equity out, right, Doug?
Yeah, that's exactly right. If you've got a ton of equity in your house, you don't want to go bankrupt. because I'm taking your house.
Right.
So bankruptcy in that case is definitely not the answer for you.
Right. And it would be the same case with a consumer proposal, right? Because the equity has to come out through the proposal process to pay the creditors.
In effect, yes. If you've got equity in your house, then the amount you're paying in the proposal will be at least the amount of that equity. So
Got it.
a lot of equity, you're right, proposals, bankruptcy, you want to avoid it. Proposal maybe, depending on the amounts. The person whose wages are being garnished and has no property, well, mortgages aren't going to be an option, and obviously the proposal of the bankruptcy may make sense depending on their situation.
Got it. Okay, so let's wrap up the video. You can reach Doug at hoys.com. Alicia, what's your website?
It's safebridgefinancial.com.
Okay, and we're totaldebtfreedom.ca. So I'll put all that information at the end of the video if you want to reach out to either one of these guys and ask them further questions. I know SafeBridge real well. Actually, I know Chris, Alicio's partner, for quite a long time. And Doug's probably got one of the better trustee outfits out there that I've come to realize. So either one of these guys, definitely talk to me if you got any follow-up questions. I hope that was helpful, and it was good talking to you guys today on Skype to try to deal with that little dispute.
Thanks, Richard.
Thanks for bringing it together.
Thanks, y'all. All right, bye-bye.